Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a big announcement, which I'm sure you can see. We've started the painting. Okay, we've done two walls. We've got two more to go. This wall here has a massive radiator on it, so we have to take the radiator off, then paint, and then put it back on, and that's just like a whole big task. Also gotta do like the skirtings and everything like that, so there's a little bit of extra painting still to go. Then we can put in some new flooring, and we'll be on the way to then just being able to decorate, so very exciting. Send me any links to anything that you can recommend, like Etsy shops as well, because I just want some cute little prints on the wall. I'm sick of looking at plain walls. We got a huge wrap up again today. I feel like I'm probably going to do this all year round because every month I don't read an overly large amount of books, but I do find that if I do it every bi-monthly, if that's even a thing, just every second month, there'll just be more books to talk about and it will be less boring than me just talking about like 8 books that I've read that month. I'm going to start with all the physical books that I've read this last couple months. Physical books, I've done so well at getting some of these off my TBR. I'm so proud of myself, but I have also bought a lot or been gifted a lot, so I've not really like dropped the level and the amount of books that I have on my TBR. We won't talk about that. Oh, I feel like I'm really far away from the camera. Let me just move these books. That is way better. Like, why was I like so far in the back? I feel like I did really well with reading physical books in March, and then it got to April and I was all about the Kindle again. And I also been like really good with audiobooks. I'll let you guys know which ones I've read also as an audiobook. Most of the time I am like hybrid reading, so it is reading with audio and also the physical book. I'm probably going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite for physical books, and then I'm just going to go at the end and do all of my Kindle books, which most likely I'll just read in like my Goodreads order. Shut Out by Avery Keelan. This was in March. I actually hardly remember anything about what this was about. I think I read it on Kindle Unlimited, but I did get gifted this book like last year by the author. I never got around to reading it, which is my bad. She is The Roommates, that's right. So this one was definitely a lot better than Offside. That was her first one in the series. I actually DNF'd that book because it was just a lot of conversations for no reason, and I was a bit like, there was no plot to the book. It was just them having conversations. This one, it felt like there was a little bit more plot. I wouldn't say that it was like, you know, the best book written ever, but there was definitely a little bit more substance to this. What are their names again? What is her name? Hades and Tyler. So Hades is actually the sister of one of the players on the team. I've forgotten his name. And Tyler is one of the teammates, which is her brother's best friend-ish. Not best friend, I don't remember if they're best friends, but they're also roommates. Hades actually moves and goes into the same college as them. So she ends up moving in with these guys and living in their house. So there is like a close force proximity sort of situation happening. When she gets to the house, she doesn't realize that the one guy that's living with her, she's actually slept with and was her brother's teammate. They had no idea because they were like at a dress-up party. That is all on the back of the book, not a spoiler. That forbiddenness because of the brother, and he's very protective of his sister. It's like one of those tropes. That's really all I can remember about the book. I don't feel like it really impressed me overly like that much. Like it's not an outstanding book where I would recommend this as like, you need to read this. This was just like an okay book. Like I enjoyed it for what it was. Definitely better than the first book. Just trying to remember what I rated it. I feel like it was a 3-star, but I don't want to. Yeah, I did give it 3 stars. I said it basically lacked any depth. Oh, and also that there was too many tropes. I forgot about that. And it is something that I found like a common theme across a few of these books I'm going to talk about today. I feel like authors are just throwing in tropes for the reason of throwing in tropes, and I don't like when a book's like that. I want the book to naturally have a trope, not like they're finding a way in every single chapter just to throw in a random trope. I feel like you need to make it organic. Otherwise, if it's not organic, it doesn't seem like it's meant for the story. So yeah, that was another point for this book. Oh, and there was disability representation here. The female main character did have ADHD, and I remember that that was like a topic of conversation throughout the entire book because she was always like too overwhelmed with a lot of things, and her brain would not process like her needing to do certain things a certain way, if that makes sense. Like she would just have so much going on, or she would be doing too many things at once. So that was really good to see that representation in a book. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah, 3 stars. I just was reading my review on Goodreads to like refresh my memory because I was like, what is this book even about? Like this was from the start of last month. Yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm now thinking I'd probably give it just a 3-star because I have not thought about this since. It is in the same series for, I forget the name of the series, the summer series. So we do end up meeting Kate initially in the previous book, which was book 2 in the series. She is the ex-wife of the male main character in that book. Beck is like sort of already painted out to be like this, she's got drug addictions, she's just not a very reliable character, and that's like how we're introduced to her in book 2. So going into this, I was like, I don't really know how I'm going to feel about this woman. Like, we've already had the previous book explain some bad things that she's done, and this was like her coming back to try and make her redemption and say that she's a changed woman. She's, you know, she's trying to right her wrongs. Obviously we know in book 2 that things don't go as well, and so she doesn't end up getting back with her husband, who's now filed for divorce, and she's now going through her divorce. So she ends up wanting to stay in the small town that they're in and moving in with his best friend, the husband's best friend, Beck, which is also like her long-term best friend. They're very close, and she is in a very sticky situation. He helps her with a place, he gets her a job at his workplace, and just like has a lot of faith in her to like get her life back together. So that's like really where the story starts. So it's like a very forced close proximity situation. Like, they're living, working, breathing together, they do everything together, and he's really the only one fighting in her corner after all of the things that she's done to this small town and all the people in it. I think the writing was good. I enjoyed it, and it's like an Elizabeth Roy book. It's like a very fast paced, very easy read, but again, it's just like a very forgettable book to me. I think it's maybe because I didn't feel the connection to the characters as much, and maybe that's like my issue. Like, as soon as I put down the book, I thought I enjoyed it, but I didn't have that love for the characters. What else did I write? I think this again was one tropes again. I mentioned the tropes. Like, this was another book that was just throwing in tropes. This one definitely was a step up from book 2. I mentioned it, the last paragraph of my review, I said I probably won't remember this. Under Your Spell, this was a musician book. Clementine is like part of like a music royalty family. Like, her dad is extremely famous, she's grown up in the public eye, but she does have like a really strange family dynamic. She has like sisters that she's grown up with, basically the same age from her dad, being unfaithful in his marriage to her mum and having affairs with different women, and they've now had babies out of those affairs. So there's 3 different babies with 3 different mums, but they've all grown up together. Parents decided to team up together and parent the 3 kids as like the 6 of them without the dad. That's like a really fun situation in itself, and I really enjoyed that starting of the book and like the introduction to them. Like, that's all within like the first 2 chapters you learn this. She doesn't really get along with her dad like that. They have a very rocky relationship. She is also struggling with like her job, and like her just broken up with her boyfriend who's cheated on her. It's like a lot of things that are happening at once. She actually ends up attending a funeral for a friend of the family. It's this guy has a one-night stand at the funeral, and from there they obviously find out that they're going to be working together once she gets a job through her sister. From there, she's like his PA and has to do everything he says, and that's like where it starts. But what really like lost me, it started so strong, like maybe the first 30%, I was so hooked. I was like, this is absolutely fabulous. But there was like a warning for me at the start of the book, because dedication had mentioned once again, this is for the trope-loving people. This was one of those books. It was just throwing in tropes for no reason. Example, I remember she was sick and he was driving her to get medication, and it was just like, he pulled out the driveway and put his arm on the back of the armrest, and she looked at him and was like very, you know, aroused by the situation, but she was also violently ill, and I'm like, that is a trope that wasn't needed in this time. She's obviously sick and not well. Like, she doesn't need to be thinking like that. Like, that trope was just unnecessary. That was like where it started losing me. And then as the book went on and progressed, like, he just became such a sim. Too cringy for me. I couldn't deal with him. I started like physically closing the book at times because he was doing things where I'm like, that is just too much. Yeah, it really lost me. There were things that I did enjoy, so like it wasn't like a terrible book. That's not what I'm saying. I just think it didn't work for me. So yeah, I did give this 3 stars as well. Moving on to Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is a new release of hers that came out at the start of this month. I did end up reading it for a reading vlog, which I've given a little bit more of an in-depth rundown about how I thought about this book. This is her Rose Hill series, which is a new series she started. It's going to be 4 single dads, I think, maybe possibly 5. I'm not 100% sure. It is like in the universe of the Chestnut Springs series. Like, you can see on the map in the start of the book. All of her series are all interconnected because in one way or another, her 3 series have got one person at least related to one character at least. So all her 3 series are related. Willa from Heartless, her brother is the main character for this. Ford Grant is actually a record producer and he is a billionaire. Rosie's the sister of Ford Grant's best friend. So Ford has had like this crush on her his whole life, and they've like been separated for maybe like a decade, and Ford comes back. He starts up a new record studio there, and Rosie ends up coming back into town after a relationship breakdown and something that happens within her workplace, and she gets a job with Ford and starts working for him. That's where like I don't really like where this is all gone, because she had something that happened at her last workplace and then jumped straight into a situation with a new boss and a situation that she didn't really deal with or have time to really reflect on what had happened at her previous workplace, and then jump straight into something new, and I really didn't like that. I also didn't like the father-daughter dynamic in this. It was not genuine to me. I don't want to give it away too much. It is, yes, it's mentioned in the back. So basically, he has a daughter that comes to his front door one night. She's 12 years old. She makes a very weird sexual comment as like one of the first introductory comments, which is another thing I didn't like. It's like, yeah, basically like my dad's passed away, my mom's not okay, can you look after me? You are my biological father. Like, then all of a sudden like they're now having like this bonding relationship, and I didn't feel the genuine connection with their father-daughter dynamic. It was very strange. Another comment was Rosie around the kids. She would always be making like very strange comments, like very sexual comments as well, like in her mind, not around the kid, but like just in her mind she'd be thinking sexual things about Ford, like while Rosie was like literally talking to him. It was very weird. Overall, I didn't like this book, if you can tell by my comments. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, and I do believe I probably could give it 2, but I'm probably going to stick with the 2.5 because there were things that I did enjoy about this, like her writing, Elsie Silver just being back in this universe. Like I do enjoy that aspect of it, and I do enjoy Elsie's just writing in general. But yeah, a lot of the plot points were like what's hindering me from enjoying this book more. But I have better hopes for book 2. It is West's book. You do meet West in this book, and that's obviously Ford's best friend, who I've mentioned already. Like he's just like a prominent character throughout the book, and obviously Rosie's older brother. West seems like he's like a very nice, sweet, but also like funny guy, so I'm very excited to see like him and his kids and like the situation that they have, because I think it is a friends to lovers. Sad, but unfortunately I didn't enjoy this one that much. A Faked Inked in Blood. This was one I just recently finished reading yesterday. I ended up DNFing this at 15%. All I'm gonna say is that dialogue of the characters didn't match the setting of the Viking setting of the story. I feel like it was very out of place sometimes. Freya would say things like in her mind like, my husband's a narcissist, and I'm like, it really took me out of the setting. Bjorn, who's the main character in this, he was just in every single chapter, and for a fantasy book I do enjoy when you have a lot more like world building to build into, and you're focusing more on like the plot and like what's happening. But I feel like Bjorn was just there all the time, and then she would start obsessing over him, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Like I don't want you to be in a life-threatening situation and you're thinking about how great and good looking he is. It was too lust driven rather than like having the actual forbiddenness of knowing like, oh, I didn't explain this, but basically Bjorn is her husband's son. Yes, that's like the forbidden, like they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. They shouldn't have this like connection or this like thirst for the other person. But at first I was like, oh, maybe they're just having the attraction really early, and then, you know, they'll realize, oh no, like this is not okay, da da da. But it just kept happening and happening, and it kept getting stronger and stronger, and I'm like, this is too much too quick. Like this is very insta-lovey. So yeah, I DNF'd. Midnight of Ashes by Tessa Hale. So I did actually listen to the audiobook for this, and this is the second book in a trilogy. I have read the first one, which was Twilight of Embers. I forgot the name of it. I really enjoyed that. I gave that 4 stars. I ended up not enjoying this one as much, unfortunately. The author was so nice to send me this beautiful cover with the sprayed edges, like so nice of her. Unfortunately, I just didn't connect with all the characters the same way I did in the first book. The first book, it felt, I don't know, there was a bit of a slow burn to their relationship, and then in this one I felt like it was again just moving a little bit too fast. But also with the plot of this, just a little bit of background. So this is actually a dragon shapeshifter Omegaverse. They're the alphas and she is the Omega. I don't know, book 2 just, I felt like she was like thrown in like a dangerous situation. She was in danger, she was in trouble, They come save her. She's like injured, she's hurt, they help her, they obsess over her. Then 2 seconds later, she's in another dangerous situation. And like, it was just like very repetitive rather than having like one big situation happen. It was happening like every few chapters, like something. She's in the hospital for this now, she's done this now. And then she would have something happen with her teacher at school, and then bad things kept happening, but she didn't have time to fully comprehend them, if that makes sense, or like have time to reflect and move past and, you know, work through the trauma. I don't know, I enjoyed being back in this world, but I didn't enjoy the plot as much. I'm a little bit sad, but I'm hoping that book 3 will come back around and, you know, just be like the good overall ending, because there are things in here that have happened. Certain characters aren't getting along with certain characters, and I just want to know like what happened. So I definitely will be continuing the book, but I think the repetitiveness of the plot was what was losing my interest throughout it. You guys are going to be so happy with me. You'll never guess what book I finished this month. And I haven't put up the vlog just yet. I'm editing it right now, but you'll probably see the vlog just before I upload this one. I'm so happy! I can't believe I finished it. So yeah, Abby Jimenez, Part of Your World, and I'm so glad that I finally read this book because it was so good. I don't know why I stopped. Like 2 chapters after I stopped, I was already hooked back in. Like the plot changed again. It was just everything about Abby Jimenez's writing is just so great. I must have just been in such a bad headspace when I stopped reading this. I don't even know why I would have stopped reading it. It was so good. Giving this 4.5 stars. They meet on the side of a road when her car breaks down. They have a one-night stand. She is a city girl, he is a farm boy. They're complete opposites. She has a very strict, devoted lifestyle. Her family are very strict. She has a very tough upbringing and just hangs around a lot of awful people besides like her best friend. So when she does meet Daniel, like he's like this city break, just a very fun, loving guy who's just open to being able to like introduce her to new life experiences that she's never really had in like with her type of lifestyle. Their relationship was just so fun, it was so refreshing, but it also did get a bit repetitive with like her, this is where I didn't give the 5 stars, but just like her being like, we can't be together, like I'm so different, like you won't get along with my family, you won't enjoy my lifestyle. It was just getting so repetitive as to like why they couldn't be together. My heart broke for Daniel at the end of the book, and just like the situation that he was put in, like oh my god, you'll see it all in the vlog that I upload. Yeah, I think it was really incredible. Again, it reminds me why I love Abby Jimenez's books so much. She's just such a wonderful author, and I cannot wait to continue reading more of her books. I still need to read her new release. 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I need to find me a Daniel. Like he was just so perfect. Funny story by Emily Henry. This is where we're gonna get into the good space. Like this is where all the books start to turn around. This was a 5-star read. As you've probably seen in my vlog, I'm not going to go too much into detail about this, but 5 stars. I love Daphne and Miles. If you don't understand how good this book is, you don't get it and you never will. This is Emily Henry's best book to date. I love that Miles is just your generic everyday dude. As much as like you've seen him in such a terrible place at the start of this book, because at the start of the book we do find out that Daphne and Miles are going through a breakup with both of their partners, because their partners who were best friends have actually left both of them and ended up together. They find themselves in a shitty situation where Daphne is now basically homeless. Miles has been left a single note on his bench saying that he's getting broken up with his girlfriend. So he's very sad. Luckily enough, they end up finding each other. They end up becoming roommates and moving in with each other and just finding this new rhythm to their new lifestyle that they've now got to, you know, learn how to cope in. Yeah, you get to see them like at their worst times and like how they deal with their like just a shitty situation. Like someone may deal with something so differently to how someone else may deal with it. And yeah, you get to go through the motions with them. At first I was like, this Miles dude, I'm like, I don't really know about him. But then as you get to know him more, and towards the end of the book, like you end up just being like obsessed with him. Like he was just such a great character. The character development across both Daphne and Miles was so incredible. Like the way Emily Henry writes is so poetic, writes with such detail, but also like she's able just to incorporate small things into here, like small little notes about like, we're going to see our favorite authors signing today in this town, and it ends up linking back to seeing Gus and January in Beach Read, like their town. Like she just adds little trinkets in. She's so smart with the way she writes. Yeah, I think I'm always going to be an Emily Henry fan, and this is definitely a 5-star read for me. You have to read it. It's so incredible. I love it. This book I actually ended up finishing a couple days ago. We have Belladonna. Belladonna is a gothic fantasy book. It does have a bit of a mystery element to this as well. So the mystery element comes in with Signa has to go back to the Hawthorne, was it? No, the Thorn Grove. Oh, the exclusive, so she's going to see the Hawthorns at the Thorn Grove estate. When she gets there, there's a lot of like deaths and just a lot of people going missing, and she's trying to solve like what is happening and why people are using this drug called Belladonna. There's definitely a lot more to the mystery, and that was just a very basic description of what's going on. But I actually listened to this in audiobook, and I do suggest actually listening to this in audiobook because it was so good. The voices were just so like pleasant to hear. I don't know why, I really enjoyed those voice actors. I probably should like note down who they are. Definitely very twisty turny at the start. I really enjoyed it. Midway I did fall off a little bit, and then again it picked right back up, and then the plot twist happened, and it was just so like, it was just like a wild adventure the entire time, and I really enjoyed it. I did end up giving it 4 stars. The reason being, a couple of the plot twists didn't see coming, but a few of them I did. That was where I was like, oh, this was the major plot twist, and I've already guessed it. Like, it sort of just took away from the fun a little bit, but I also was very proud of myself for guessing it. Now going in, there is a book 2, I believe. Yeah, I'm very excited to continue on with it. We have Lie With Me by Philip Besson. I realized in one of my last videos I was saying his name completely wrong. I ended up Googling it, it's Philip Besson. I ended up watching the movie and also reading the book for this. Again, this was in another vlog, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but this follows Philip as a teenage boy who meets his love of his life, basically, Thomas. Yeah, it is Thomas. I was like, wait, I forgot his name. This goes through like a lot of the hardships of growing up as a gay person in Paris in the 1980s, and how that affects just, well, basically follows their secret love affair and everything that Thomas and Philip go through, but it is from the point of view of Philip, the writer. You do get a little bit of like insight into like what Thomas's story may have been, but this is purely just from Philip's point of view, so I do want to make you guys like aware of that when going into it. It's not like a love story as such, and it does blur the lines between fiction and non-fiction. It basically is an autobiography, but it's not. Like, some of the things aren't an autobiography. This is like a interpretation of like his reality, what he went through as a teenager. It does get explained a bit in the book, like when you're reading it, like how he's doing this. And I think what for me was like, obviously the literary fiction writing of it all, like it was just so stunning, so beautiful, and the story was damn near heartbreaking. Like, I actually was bawling my eyes out. Please check your trigger warnings for this, because there are some things in here that were very triggering. But I also want to point out as well, like the formatting of this book. There was like one thing about this book that I didn't like, which is why I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The formatting, just like the writing style, sometimes like there'd be like random paragraphs in between like the story of the paragraph, and it would be almost like an author's note that jumped in, and Philip would say things about like, oh, this is what this meant during that time, and now this is how I perceive it being older, and like reflecting almost on the story. But he would like have like author's notes every like maybe 5 or 6 paragraphs. I don't know, I just like, sometimes it would take me out of the story rather than just like reading it. So that was like one thing I didn't really like. And I went and watched the movie of this. You have to watch the movie after you've read it. It's just so beautiful. I love the way that they've done it. Yeah, it was incredible, but so heartbreaking. Be warned, like you will cry. This month I did only get through one book of the Throne of Glass series, so we've got Queen of Shadows that I ended up reading 5 stars. I don't really want to say too much about this because we all know what this series is about, but, and it's also like in the middle of a series, I can't really say too much. I'm actually like, I'm shocked at how much better each book is getting, because at the start I was very weary, like this isn't probably gonna be one of my favorite series. Now it's just becoming so much more to me. Like, I feel like I'm very attached to these characters and like what the story and like what's happening in their lives. And now there's just so many characters that we're learning about, and there's so many lives that we're following. I can't get over how like well this has all been thought out. Yeah, I haven't gone into the next 2 books because obviously you can either not, but you don't have to, but it is the tandem read, and I'm just so petrified of doing the tandem read because it is so long. But I know I just need to start. I just need some encouragement. So if you guys can tell me in the comments to get and move on with it so I can actually do it and then move on to the final book, that would be really good. But 5 stars, I enjoyed this so much. Next we have Ali Hazelwood's Not in Love. This is the new book that's coming out in June. It is her like frenemies with benefits. It is a workplace romance. It is a forbidden romance, angsty, dual POV. It is hands down my favorite Ali Hazelwood book that she's ever written. Rue is the female main character in this. She's working in a field of food science, and she's trying to increase the longevity of the shelf life of food. Rue has been working on this for quite a while. Klein ends up being in like a financial situation where they can't like really pay their bills anymore, and this company ends up buying out the company almost in a way, and so she gets like new bosses which is sort of coming in to try and change things up, which is where Eli comes in, and Eli ends up being her new not really boss, but like he's not her direct line of boss, but he's also like there. They end up noticing each other and realizing, oh, you're the guy from the other night when I almost had a one-night stand with you. And they then have this very close proximity, tension-filled workplace situation. Rue's just like a very complex character, and Eli is as well. Very different people to everyone around them, but they end up connecting on like a deep level. But the deep level is like a very slow burn because Rue is a very closed-off human being. She's very hard for her to open up with anyone. She's very complex in that department of like just sharing anything personal about herself, so it's like very hard for her to share like a minor detail about herself. I really enjoyed reading about her because that was just very fun to see her character development across the entire book. Eli just being the patient and understanding king that he is. Like, I really loved their dynamic. It is definitely a spicy book, and the physical relationship is very prominent in here, so that is something that they use to connect more than, you know, emotional aspect at first, but that slowly does come throughout the book, and you just fall in love with them and who they are and their relationship. 5 stars, hands down my favorite Allie book, my favorite Allie character that she's written. Just so fascinating to read. Loved this. 5 stars. Next, we have The Crimson Moth. This is by Kristen Cicciarelli. She is a new author to me. I have given this 5 stars. Who would have thought I've had so many 5 stars across these last 2 months? Like, this was so incredible. This is a book about a witch hunter and a witch collector. Oh, sorry. It's the same thing. No, a witch hunter and a witch. The witch hunter is trying to find this lead Crimson Moth. She's been helping get rid of all of the witches and get them out to safety out of this town, and he thinks if he takes down the Crimson Moth, then that will make collecting all these witches in their town so much easier. She's actually trying to engage in a relationship with him so that she can try and get away with, you know, just being the Crimson Moth and finding out more information. So they're basically like trying to fool each other. Their relationship that they're having together is all fake. Lines slowly start to blur and they're realizing, like, is this person trying to trick me, or are they not? Like, oh, I'm starting to like this person. It's so much fun. The writing was so phenomenal. I was drawn in and captivated from the moment I started. It was absolutely incredible. I beg you to please pick this book up. I am begging, begging, begging. Utterly obsessed to the point where I can't even wait for this next book. I think it is coming out in January next year. Like, it's too far away. Like, I can't wait until then. I'm counting down the days. When you read this, you will understand, like, you just get taken in so quickly. It is a new adult book. I did think it was YA initially, but it is actually new adult. Rune and Gideon were just so much fun. Like, they were just playing with each other the entire time. There was so much tension. The banter was incredible between them, and there was a plot twist at the end which you don't see coming. I mean, there were some hints, but like most of the plot twist, there was quite a few. I didn't see most of them coming, so it was just really, really fun. It just felt very new and refreshing to me. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, 5 stars. Now let's go through my Kindle books because I did have a few. Like You Hate Me. I think this was an book. I did end up giving it 3 stars. I don't remember this. Oh my god, I don't even remember. It's 3 stars. I actually can't even remember what this is about. It says that it was while the whole toxic over-the-top drama with crazy jealousy and possessiveness. Out of the blue, I got tired of the same old... Oh, right, yep. So Nate was being really rude to Xavier in this book. So it is like a bully romance, hate to love, found family. I don't really remember like fully the plot of it all, but I just remember Nate being very repetitive and being so rude to Xavier. There were points where I was like, okay, now I'm getting bored. Like, I understand the bully romance. I love like a little bit of bully, like if I'm in the mood for it, but then I felt like it was just happening too much where I'm like, oh, again, like you're making the same comments again. I don't really remember too much about this, but I just remember that. Anyway, that's 3 stars for that one. We can move on. Until I Saw You is actually an romance. It's between the caretaker. So Riley is a vision impaired app developer who loses his eyesight due to a mountain climbing accident, and Harper is a VRT, which is a visual rehabilitation trainer that comes to work as a live-in assistant after escaping his abusive relationship. So they had like a very slow burn of romance when I was reading this. Harper was going through so much trauma, and we really get to see him try and recover, become like more like self-efficient, you know, just independent after being out of a toxic relationship. And we have Riley, who's obviously been through quite a traumatic thing with his accident, and now he's just learning to embrace his new reality, and that was really helpful with Harper because he was like the first person to really let him do things on his own without trying to just, you know, do it for him. He was trying to teach him how he can be self-sufficient as well. So they were sort of learning to be self-sufficient together in a way, and then their relationship just slowly bonded. Like, they had the cutest moments where they listened to audiobooks together. Their relationship was quite cute and wholesome in a way, and I really enjoyed them. Yeah, I just felt like Riley gave Harper this like safe environment to flourish and be himself and like be who they needed to be together, which was really beautiful. Yeah, I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed that. Spals by Jessica Joyce. This was an arc I received. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy the dynamic of this because it was like a second chance romance where they went to their best friend's wedding and they ended up just like trying to redeem their relationship while also like planning the fixing their like wedding that was going wrong. But like the reason for their breakup and like them getting back together, like there was meant to be like this big build up to their relationship, and I just didn't really feel it as much while reading it, which was really sad because I really enjoyed Jessica's last book. But yeah, this one just didn't work for me. So yeah, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't like, I didn't love it. Yeah, I'd said that their relationship felt very bland, and the resolution to their their second chance and like what had happened felt very rushed, and like it didn't feel like it was very like thought out, that like they've taken the time to really fix their problem. So yeah. Then I read The Homewrecker. This was by Sarah Kate. I haven't read a Sarah Kate book in quite a while, probably since maybe the first book in this series, and I don't know, I enjoyed like Sarah Kate's writing and like what it was. Like maybe 2022 Tash would have loved this book, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was fast and spicy and very like fun. It had the emotional depth that I really wanted from a book that I do now like these days. So I would recommend it if you are just looking for like that polyamorous relationship that's like a lot of fun. It was just a lot of spice, and it was just a smutty book really. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. Like it is what it was. It got me out of like my little slump that I thought I was going into. On the Line by Amy La was actually recommended to me by Elsie Silver when I've seen an interview of hers. She'd mentioned that she was reading this book and she was really enjoying it. If Elsie's saying that she's liking it, then I'm gonna love it. It is actually a chef romance. This girl is a very like wealthy family background. She's a bratty sort of kid who's gotten everything that she's wanted, and now she's decided that because her father's no longer going to support her in her decisions of like going down a different career path, that she was going to move out and start her life all on her own with no help or support from them. Basically, she gets her own place, she finds a job, which is actually now going to be working as a waitress at this place. Yeah, she goes through like a little bit of a tough time of like trying to fit in and do the right things and figure out like, you know, this whole budgeting thing and you know, just trying to figure out like her way of life now. James is the female main character and Ozzy is the head chef. I don't know if he's the head chef, but he was like one of the main chefs in the kitchen. He gives her a little bit of a hard time at first, and then he starts realizing that she's a bit out of place, and they have like this really like fun banter-filled relationship. There was this one scene like where he figures out her boyfriend's not really like a nice guy, and that they're going through like a rocky relationship, and so he's like continuously flirting with her at work. And sorry, I shouldn't say boyfriend, I mean ex-boyfriend. Like they were just like a really rocky relationship, and like they have this scene, and I remember being like it was with a Mars bar. I can't really say anything else about like what it included, but there was just this one scene like a few chapters in, and I was like, oh my god, no, this book is going to be spicy. Then from that point onwards, like it just kept getting spicier and spicier and spicier. Like I ended up giving it 4 chili rating spicing, and that was like where it lost me because it became too spicy for me. I ended up giving it a 3-star rating. I probably would have given it a 4-star if it didn't have too much of the spice and it didn't focus more on like the physical relationship. I would have really enjoyed like more of the emotional. It was really fun and I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah, I would say if you're looking for like a fun book, definitely pick this one up. It's definitely more of like the Homewrecker. They're just like very fun books. Like it'll get you out of a reading slump if you were in a reading slump. Like go for this read. And then the final book I read this month, which is The Spell Shop by Sarah Durst. So this does come out actually in July. Put it on the screen if it's a different date. This is a cozy fantasy and it does have a bit of a mystery element as well. Cozy mystery, romantic fantasy. So there is romance. It does include like witches, magical creatures. Like there's just a lot of magical things. The place that she lives in, which is actually a library, is under attack. She picks up all the books that are like illegal and to make sure that they get out safe because she's very determined to like make sure literature stays. Kayla's always had like a really like hard time like talking with people as well. So she has actually made friends with her assistant at the library. His name is Kaz, and Kaz is actually a spider plant. He's a magical spider plant that she can speak to. They end up escaping from the Great Library together, them two in a boat. They end up sailing away away and going to this island nearby. What we end up finding out is that's actually the island where she grew up on and where her parents lived and grown up with her with before moving to the big city. So she ends up going back to the old cottage that she grew up in. She starts setting up her life again, meets a few of the people, the locals, her neighbors, all of these people in her life, and slowly starts to rebuild. That was just like the whole premise of the book, and there's a lot of twists and turns that happen. I really enjoyed the writing of it. I've never read a Sarah Durst book before, but it was just really like whimsical and beautiful, like the way she would just describe like the most simplest of things. I do find though that sometimes towards the end I was a bit like, oh, like can we like move it along with the description, because at the start like I sort of like accept that, you know, they're going to be more descriptive when you're like introducing yourself with a new fantasy world, but as the start of the end of the book kept coming, I was like, oh, like are we going to keep moving this on now, because there was more description than dialogue, and that I would have liked towards the end, you know, just more like fast-paced writing. But overall I did really enjoy it. I'm probably going to give it a 4-star rating. I mean, I did finish it yesterday, so this is like a really fresh rating on my mind. But I really enjoyed the characters. Kaz was definitely my favorite. He was like the comedic relief that we needed in most of the conversations that were happening. Meep is a new character you get introduced to halfway through. He is hilarious. You get to meet all these magical creatures like mer horses, there's centaurs, like there's just so many things happening on this island, and like the community that they build, like it's just so lovely. There's a sense of found family across all of them. They're just so protective of each other. It's a really lovely story. Yeah, I ended up getting this as a proof from publishers and from NetGalley, which is where I got it supplied through, and there is a little bit of a plot twist at the end. Yeah, I would definitely say if you're looking for like a cozy mystery fantasy vibe, it's just like a really good adventure. I think there's really like all of the books I've read. I'm just trying to think if there's any others. Like, let's go through my list. That's all the books I've done so far, like off my memory that I can think of. But obviously if I'm going to recommend any books, they're going to be my 5-star reads. We do have Queen of Shadows, which is the Throne of Glass series. Highly recommend the series in general so far. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, must read when it comes out. This is in June. Funny Story by Emily Henry, 5-star read as well. Absolutely incredible. Emily Henry fan to the day I die. We'll never stop talking about her. The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicciarelli. She is a new author to me. I need to read her entire backlist now. Like, this book was phenomenal. I was about to say something else, but I've held myself back. I'm obsessed. I'm actually obsessed with this book. Highly recommend these ones more than anything. Like, they are so incredible. Like, you need to go read them. Yeah, I've had such an incredible 2 months. Put it down to actually the audiobooks. I feel like audiobooks have really helped me out this year with trying to get through more books. I think back on like maybe last year, I was reading so many books a month. The year prior, even more books. Like, I was just smashing books. Like, I don't understand how I was reading that much. I was probably living and breathing books at that time, because now I just can't even fathom how I was doing it. Like, I just must have been doing nothing else but reading. I feel like I've gotten back up there these last couple months, and that's definitely due to audiobook. If you are someone who's just trying to, you know, increase the amount of books that they're intaking, I highly recommend audiobooks. They're definitely new to me, but it's helped so much. I'll be driving in the car, I can go for a walk, I'm cleaning around the house. Like, it's just any time like I'm doing an activity where I usually listen to a podcast or, you know, watch YouTube videos, I'll put on an audiobook now, and it's just really increased the amount of books that I'm intaking. Yes, I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. I feel like I've been talking for like over an hour now. I'm probably going to love you and leave you here, but I really appreciate you for sticking by if you're still here and listening. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you guys have had any 5-star reads this month, comment them down below, because I'll definitely be adding them to my TBR. Don't look at my TBR, there is too many books there anyway as it is, but I will be adding your 5-star reads to my TBR if they're not already on my list. And if you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to talk about them with you. I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video.